Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Hanukkah Erotica Book Club. I'm Raizel, and I'm here with my co-host and stepsister, Malya. Hi, Mal.
Hello.
I'm so excited that we're here. It's really happening.
Episode 6.
Wow.
I know. We're on a roll.
We are. I can't believe our last episode.
That was a big one. I mean, I feel like we graduated into adulthood with that one.
We really did. And I have to say, I think that Felicia Berliner really enjoyed our conversation too. When she called us dream readers,
I was going to say that was big.
I was so excited when she called us dream readers, but she wouldn't have said that if she didn't mean it.
I'd like to think it wasn't just because we were very laudatory about her work, but it was also because we were very insightful about her work as well.
I'm hoping you're right. We were. And also, I mean, we wove in the other OTD stories, the memoirs. Like, you brought another book club up. I was very impressed.
You know, I like to name drop here and there. What can I say? I'm human.
I loved it. I love talking to her. The feedback has been really great. My mom immediately ordered schmutz, and then she texted me when it arrived. I haven't gotten an update yet, though. But Svi, one of our really close friends, sent a text message. Is schmutz as good as you're making it out to seem? Should I read it? Because the way that you're talking about it makes me feel like it's a very good book. I said, it's a very good book. You should read it. So I'm really glad that our book club's inspiring people to read.
Influencing. I would say influencing.
Yeah, influencing. Yes. So I was really excited about that. You know what else I was thinking? Like, we're both working parents.
True.
Are you nursing the baby these days?
I sure am.
Okay, so we're both nursing. And pumping?
Of course.
Like, this is not a podcast about being a working parent, but it could be. Like, we have lots to say.
Sure do.
This is
Absolutely.
not a there's pumping podcasts. You know about that?
Are there?
Yes. There's
just about pumping?
There's exclusive pumping podcasts.
Wow.
Nursing podcasts, parenting podcasts. There are so many parenting podcasts.
Yes.
Pumping, nursing. There's full, I'm telling you. But that's not who we are. We could just do a whole thing on balancing work
podcasting and pumping.
Podcasting
while pumping. Hadn't thought of that, but I could do it.
We could do it if we needed
Right.
to. So it made me think, like, it made me feel proud of us, basically. You know, there's a lot going on, and we're making time to do this fun project that seems to be bringing other people joy also. And the other thing about it is, I feel like this book club podcast has made me reconnect with people. Who I haven't spoken to.
Yes, you read like a new, you were talking about a new text chain that had popped up.
Yes,
reminiscing about Upper West Side days.
Yes, like the Upper West Side group. I feel like it's bringing things up for people. That's making me reconnect with them and me reconnect with you, and it makes me feel so happy. So I'm just so excited.
I agree. I'm really enjoying it, and it's just like you said. It's something it's not about sort of the other more mundane elements of our lives, though we could surely go on about those, but this is more fun.
This is more fun. So, okay, so today we're talking about Hot Rabbi, and
Great
I kind of
title.
want to, what'd you say?
Great title, I said.
Great title. That is true. Great title. Hot Rabbi is by an author named Aviva Blakeman, and I did a little bit of research, and I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about that before we dive into this book.
Okay.
So,
I rely on you for the behind the scenes.
Yes, and I'll provide it. But first of all, this book was, unsurprisingly, this is a self-published book.
Right, I got that sense.
Yes. And not only that, she definitely has a full-time job and was working on this, like, on the side.
Like us.
Exactly. Now, this was not the best. We'll talk about that. But one
Right.
thing I want to share before we kind of dive in is that I don't think there was a big budget for this. I don't think there was a big budget for an editor. I got the sense in the acknowledgments at the end that maybe it's like friends in the romance world, doing each other favors, things like that. She consulted with her rabbi a bit, but said something in the end like any mistakes about Jewish law or tradition or halacha, are my own. Don't blame the rabbi, that kind of a thing. And I think we could talk a little bit about those. But one thing I really, really want to mention is that unlike KK Hendon, Aviva Blakeman is extremely active on Twitter. And the majority of her tweets are reminding her listeners to take their meds, drink water, and moisturize something. She is constantly reminding her followers to take their meds, to hydrate, and to moisturize. This is a big theme for her.
I'd say those are good reminders.
They are good reminders. She's daily, even today. But the last time I checked, it said 38 minutes ago there was a post about this. I'll pull it up. But she's really, really encouraging the people in her life, the people who follow her, to take care of themselves and to take care of their own needs, and specifically also, I think, thinking about mental health. Here, this was an hour ago. Consider this your reminder not to work too hard and remember your meds. Make a point to have some water and moisturize something. This was just a tweet today, but I've seen hundreds of them. She's tweeted like 30,000 tweets or something like that. She's active on Twitter.
Wow.
And
It's a strong theme.
Strong theme. And part of it makes me think I don't want to affect anyone's mental health. And, I think that we see this as something lighthearted.
Absolutely.
But it was obviously a big project for her.
Listen, anyone who's passionate enough about hot rabbis to take on writing a book about them in their spare time, I laud them.
Exactly. So what I want to think about is let's treat this maybe like let's be her editors.
Great.
Right? Like listen, anyone who can write a several 100-page book with multi.
It was not a short book. I was shocked by that. I think I was really expecting like KK Hendon style novella. Not that.
No, this was a very, very, very long book. And she calls them kissing books, the way she talks about like books with sex scenes or romance or whatever. But I see in her tweets, but and in the acknowledgments at the end. But the thing is, like, this was not a short book. Maybe
Nope.
a quick-ish read, but also had a lot of intense themes. It wasn't just smut, if you will. There was a lot going on.
Characters were developed, surely.
Right, lots going on. The characters also definitely had a specific voice, which I want to talk to you about. And I can barely comment, tweet, Instagram caption without a typo. So it's like, this is amazing. She did something great. There's even a sequel. I told you, Hot Lumberjack, right? So like, she's doing the damn thing. She's writing in her spare time. Like, I think it's incredible, and she's a queen. I also think that this book, leaves some things to be desired, and we'll talk about that today. But if I don't know that Aviva will ever hear this, if she does, you are a queen. It's amazing that you have a full-time job and also do this and also advocate on your Twitter for people to take care of themselves. All those things are great. There were some things about this book I think that a lot of readers probably really like, which we'll talk about. But if you were to rewrite Hot Rabbi, I think Malya and I might have some insight.
Totally. I think that's a great perspective.
So that's where I want to take. So what's this book about? So I guess a little summary.
Please.
Shoshana lives in a small town. It's sort of like small town, any town, USA kind of thing. Like,
right. It's a generic small town. Yeah.
Which like, by the way, that already is like a little problematic for me. Why not make it something specific? Because when it's like, think about the difference of this versus schmutz. Like, we felt like we were in the dining hall at Queens College or Hunter College.
Right.
The way it was described, davening on the subway, just the details about Brooklyn and the city and college felt very palpable to us.
Right. And also, like, a small town where there's such a vibrant Jewish community, like, that's got to be a specific place. Like,
where is
most
it?
generic small towns don't have vibrant Jewish communities.
Exactly. And she's from the South, Aviva Blakeman, and so it's like, just make it where you're from. Like, make it from that town, that little small city or wherever it is. For me, that would make added value. It's like because sometimes the city becomes a character in the book, and I love that. So already, I felt it was very much like Anytown USA,
Right. The scene's a little blurry, like the
Right.
background. Yeah.
Right. Especially because, again, we'll talk about like the Jewish community, the shul, this, that, like, where are you? Okay. So,
Right.
so Shoshana lives in this small town. She hasn't been to shul in years. Already the premise is odd to me because, because it's like, what young adult or adult, like, who goes, most people don't go to the shul that they grew up in anymore because they're now grown and they presumably moved out of the town they grew up in, or like, I don't, the
Right. It
whole,
seems like in this book, literally every single person who grew up in the shul still attends the shul except for her.
right. I just never
Which
heard
is
of anything
a
like
remarkable
that.
retention rate. I mean, that's a great shul.
No attrition.
Right. Everyone is still there.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Right.
So again, like the premise to begin with just had holes in it for me because it's like the whole premise is that she hasn't been to shul in years. In the first line, her friends are like, "Come with us to Friday night services." She's like, "I don't want to go to Friday night services. I don't go to Beth Elohim anymore."
Right.
And not the one in Park Slope, obviously. But
I did like that it's called Beth Elohim.
Yeah.
That made me feel a little more connected, though clearly it's not.
Just
Park
like-
Slope, this is not.
Exactly.
Right.
And then they're basically, her friends are like, no, there's this new hot rabbi. Like, everyone's calling him, Rabbi Sexy Pants. You have to come to shul to meet the hot rabbi.
Yes.
She gets convinced to go to shul to meet the hot rabbi. And then at the Oneg.
Also, like, she hates shul, but, like, her best friend runs the preschool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all her friends are intimately involved with the shul, but, like, she won't set foot in the shul.
Right. It's just like I don't think I understand this. Again, it doesn't necessarily, like, things don't have to be realistic like that. But because an argument, I think of a lot of people arguing, let's say, against books or shows or whatever. It's like the characters aren't relatable or this isn't realistic. Like, I don't watch things necessarily because they're realistic. I don't necessarily read things because they were realistic.
Sure.
But I really just, like, this felt so odd to me because, again, like, her world really are the Jewish friends from the shul.
Right.
So what, but I guess this is the thing, like, what makes a community? I don't think in our eyes we necessarily see, like, the synagogue, the shul, like the shul from our childhood. It's like, I don't know. It's not that deep. I feel like it's something else. The friends are her friends. Whether or not you go to shul, to me, feels irrelevant. I just
Right.
didn't understand the whole thing.
Right. It seems like such a point of contention that
it is the point.
Right.
It is the book.
Right.
So okay. So she lives in this small town. She has a potential. She gets convinced to meet this hot rabbi.
Yep. Sexy pants.
Hot Rabbi Sexy Pants. Mm-hmm. And immediately there's a very strong connection.
On both ends.
On both ends.
Right.
There's a very strong attraction. He immediately asks for her number. And a hot romance, I guess we could call it, ensues with a lot of kind of turmoil. Rabbi Sexy Pants is a guy named David. He's a single dad.
Yep.
The mother of his daughter, does not live in this small town. He moved to this small town to be the rabbi of this shul.
Right.
There's some issues because Shoshana no longer goes to the shul, which they make into an issue. She also doesn't observe Judaism in the same way he does, which, by the way, I don't know how he observes Judaism. A lot
of the rituals, his practice is somewhat conflicting to me. A little hard to. First of all, his daughter calls him Tati.
Yes, his daughter.
Which, like
he sounds like he's
ironic?
yeshivish.
Right. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm assuming he's reform. Like, Beth Elohim is a reform name of a. Right?
Exactly. I think I guess I was like, well, what rabbinical school did he go to? Which she calls rabbi school, which I thought was funny. But, like,
that is
yeah,
funny.
like, I feel like he's an HUC rabbi.
Totally.
Who got this job at a shul in the South. But yes, like, would an HUC rabbi's daughter call him Tati ironically, or like in like a way to be Hamish? Like, maybe, but it would be highly unusual.
Yes. And also, actually, I question another. I was actually polling people this week as I was reading this, because another central plot point that I question is, he says to her when they meet, he wouldn't date a congregant because of the power imbalance. And, like, maybe I'm out of touch, but like, is that true? Like, is it so taboo? If the rabbi is single and a congregant is single, I get that like it might not be the best idea because if it doesn't work out, it's awkward. But is it so? Is there such a power imbalance? Like, it's not. He's not her boss. Like, I don't really get it.
I know. And here's the thing. I felt the same way. In a tweet, I don't know if this is related or relevant information, but it feels like an appropriate time to share that when I went in the deep dive on Twitter of Aviva Blakeman's Twitter, I can't find the tweet right now because of how many thousands of tweets back it went, and I didn't screenshot it. Something that she posted made me think she might be a Jew by choice, and that it's possible that her. So some of this might feel, maybe I'm wrong, but churchy.
Ah, right.
Like I'll give
right. Go on.
No, like I'll give you an example. Like years ago, someone was like, "Oh, I'm surprised you, meaning me and Mitch, aren't getting married in a shul." Because I said, "Well, why?" Because it's more religious. It's not more religious. Like getting married in a shul is not a thing. You get married under a chuppah,
right?
But the concept of like getting married in a shul is actually more churchy than anything else. Like a wedding can be anywhere. A Jewish wedding could be anywhere. You just need a chuppah and the brachot.
I think the frummest weddings are never in a shul because it won't hold enough people.
Right. Exactly. It's
They're in those
in a hall.
Schlocky, right, like a hall in Borough Park.
Right.
Sorry. So for anyone who got married in those halls in Borough Park, they're lovely.
They're lovely, and they held all of your loved ones, and we're happy to have been invited.
Absolutely. I loved it. Invite me to more.
By the way, Mitch and I once went to the wrong one across the parking lot.
Oh, no.
You didn't realize you were like
2 hours in. You're like, wait a minute.
We were like at a wedding, at a hall.
There's black hats.
In Borough
There's
Park.
Long sleeves. Everything looks right.
There was also like, it was so frum that it was just like the table, it was like Kala's friends at table 18 or whatever, and like Hassan's friends at the other table.
Totally.
Like no seating. Anyway, we were at the wrong wedding across a parking lot.
I remember my sister, like her husband is like from this very frum world, so they've been to a lot of these like very frum weddings. And I remember she told me like one of his cousins once told her, sometimes I have memories of a wedding, but I'm not sure if it's my wedding or just so many of the other weddings that I was at the same place. Like
very funny.
It's all just one generic big frum
sweaty
wedding.
mosh pit.
Right. Exactly, but none of them were in shuls. To your point.
And I sort of feel like maybe the reason I brought this up at this time is maybe this whole concept of like, I'm not a part of this anymore, or there's a power imbalance. Like maybe it comes from a history in another religion more than anything else. Because it's like, it's awesome that she's Jewish and wants to write a book about Jewish characters in a romance. It's just like similar to the whole reason why we were here in the first place. It's like there's millions of Christmas movies. There's 5 Hanukkah movies. There's millions of Christmas romance novels. There's a handful of Hanukkah ones. Like obviously 40 something is a lot, but not compared to everything else. So the idea that this is here and exists like is a nice thing. It's exciting for representation. It's nice that, the idea that characters can connect in a shul and that a rabbi is seen as a character who could be sexy and dateable. Like all of that is really good, but some of it doesn't feel believable. And I'm wondering if it is because it's actually in this like framework,
right, where that
isn't
taboo
Jewish.
would be more sort of believable or typical.
Maybe.
Right.
The preschool within the shul is like a real thing. Like that's like feels very
that I liked. The preschool director's dropping by.
Exactly, and the oneg and all of that. She immediately they have a strong connection. They start talking. They spend time together. There's a past trauma that is the reason she left the community. It comes up, ultimately, I guess there's a question of whether or not this is a happily ever after.
I do like back to his religious, like his religiosity sort of not really hanging together for me. He does seem to wear a kippah overly much for a Reform rabbi, but I also appreciate that the kippah is like a sexy prop. Like she kisses him and like the kippah tumbles to the ground.
Yes, Yes, I totally.
That made me giggle. I liked it.
I totally highlighted that section of the with the kippah. I agree. Yeah, and it's definitely like something they talk about. He's like, "Does it bother you?" Like
Right.
she has a very specific voice in this book, and I think that like for a lot of people they might really connect to this voice. But tell me if you know what I'm saying here, where it's like this voice actually I find irksome. Do you know when people are like, "I did a thing," and then they like post what that thing is on the internet? Like,
Yeah.
the "I did a thing" voice, and I don't know how to define that voice, I find irksome. Like, we did a thing, but then like a bunch of pictures of like whatever thing they did. Like I did a thing. I don't know how to define this voice. She has this voice, or like the same. This also like at one point she'll be like, she says to a friend like, "I like you, a butt hair." Like that voice of like, "You're a great human." There's something about her voice that on one hand is not traditional or like basic in any way. It's definitely not just like a generic heroine in a story. Like
Right.
I see in a lot of the other reviews of that people wrote about this book is like she's considered like a messy heroine, and I think that that's something that people really like. She has a real voice. She doesn't sound generic at all, but there is something about her voice, the character's voice, that I find irksome. The "I did a thing" voice. Does this resonate with you at
Yeah,
all?
I know what you mean. It's like I think what she was trying to do maybe with this heroine is like she's trying to create like a manic pixie dream girl type of just like, "I did a thing. I'm so whimsical. I march to my own drummer,
I have
and
pink hair.
I have pink hair and it flows freely, and I'm beyond the rules." But also like I'm a neurotic Jew.
Yes.
So I think she's trying to sort of, and I applaud that. Like, I think that's cool to try to like mesh those two stereotypes and sort of see what emerges. And I like that. And actually, you putting it like that kind of brought it into sharper focus for me. But that isn't that manic pixie dream girl, "I did a thing." I find also rubs
like,
me the wrong way.
It rubs me the wrong way, but I agree with you. I agree with you that at having this kind of character in a book is probably a good thing. Like she has anxiety, she has real feelings, she's certainly not perfect. Like that's nice for a main character. Another thing, this doesn't do it for me, but there is a cat that plays a very big role in this book, and I happen to know that that's something that like when people are looking for the romance books that they want to read, like some are looking for like books with pets, books with cats, books with dog. People want books with dogs. Like this is a thing in the romance world. This is a thing in like the Hallmark movie world. Like, so if anyone likes cats, like this is a book for you. I don't.
Right. She has a beloved cat. And doesn't he have a Jewish name of some
It's
kind?
Devarim.
Devarim, right. She hates Shul, but her cat's named Devarim.
Right. She calls him Dev.
Dev.
There's a weird interaction where like at the end of the book she's like Devarim, and then he learns for the first time that the cat's name is Devarim.
Oh, right.
And he's like, "Deuteronomy, really?" Like,
oh my God.
I don't know, like that doesn't, would he have he wouldn't define it like.
Right, like is that for the reader who doesn't know what Devarim is? It's like an educational moment, maybe?
Yes, but like then saying Deuteronomy wouldn't actually clarify it for anyone. Like no one would know what either of those things are if they don't know what one of those
interchange mean. Right, yeah.
It's just like in another book we're going to be reading next month, which I should really just save this, but it's like the English word for tefillin
right.
is like phylacteries or something like that.
Yeah.
Who's going to read phylacteries and then know what it means? Like,
right, that's like a right.
Oh,
if you know,
thanks. That really cleared it up. Phylacteries.
Right.
I get
if you know
it now.
phylacteries, you don't need to translate it. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So anyway, I do think that was for the reader, but her cat's name is Devarim, but she has this really tense relationship with synagogue. You know, there's a lot of sisterhood gossip.
Right. That's an interesting. Also, your point about maybe some of these things are lifted from other religions. Like, I'm not familiar with this concept of the sisterhood where there are like all these. I mean, I guess it's just supposed to be like. This also it kind of pivoted, I guess, in the book, because at first you think it's all these yentas that are just like, oh, the hot rabbi spoke to her, we need to get back in touch. But then it turns out that they're just like all her friends from childhood, right? And like,
yes, that's what
and they're just like catching up, and she's like, "Oh, these women are all really great. Why did I distance myself from all of them except the preschool teacher?" Like, I didn't really. It's trying to be a lot of different things.
I think so. By the way, I went to a sisterhood thing recently here of my new shul.
Oh.
The sisterhood growing up, like my mom didn't go to the sisterhood stuff at our shul, and I always got the sense that like the town I grew up in was so Jewish, like the sisterhood wasn't providing any new social connections for her. Like my mom had her friends, she knew people from shul. Like, do Orthodox synagogues have a sisterhood, or is that a specific?
No, I think they do. I'm pretty
do.
sure my sister is also like my sister's like my touchstone for like suburban orthodoxy. And I think that she is in the sisterhood, or maybe even was like had some kind of leadership role in the sisterhood at some point.
Yes.
So yeah, I think they do.
Because like when I moved out of the city, I was like, I'm joining the sisterhood. I'm gonna go and see, whatever there is. I want to like, make Jewish connections in my town. And I went, but I definitely, I'm new here, but there's definitely, if there's a text thread, I'm not on it, like kind of
What
thing.
are they
like,
up to in that sisterhood there?
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, I went to this one event. It was like at a bar in town. I would say like 60 or 70 people were there.
Wow. Jeez.
Of all generations and ages. I invited my mom. She couldn't go that night, but like all generations. There was like 2 tables of women who were seated. Maybe they were closer to my mom's age. There were like a bunch of people like, around our age, hanging out, having something to drink, schmoozing. Like it was really...
Sounds really nice.
It was really nice. It was just... Oh, and there was also like an author there talking about it wasn't like a book talk, but like someone who wrote a book was there, maybe signing books. I don't know. But it was... I thought it was really cool. There's also a sisterhood like service coming up where the sisterhood's leading the davening for that day with like a kiddush after. So there was something in the sukkah. There's a bunch of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
that
pretty
sounds
cool.
great. Yeah,
pretty cool. Yeah, I'm sure I'll keep going to things and meeting people. But if there is any sisterhood gossip, that's either I'm totally new and I'd be surprised. Like it doesn't feel like that. So this to me felt like she called them the bubbies. Like the bubbies were reaching out. I don't know if that was almost like she meant to say the yentas.
right. But then the bubbies, like the one lunch you see, it's a person her age.
Right. I don't really know. I was confused about that. And her phone just started like blowing up with texts. Like
Yeah.
there was a flirtation and then immediately people started texting her about it. Like I get it for the book, but I don't know if I get it for in reality. The other thing is like the hair covering. She was like, I'm not covering my hair. People might expect me to cover my hair, but I'm not going to cover my hair, even though most people would cover their hair. I was like, I think she's confused about who would cover their hair in shul and why.
Right. That's a good point. That was a miss there.
Yeah, so there are certain things like that took me out of the story. And when we're just having read a book like Schmutz, which is so realistic.
Right. And so like dead on with so many little details.
So many details to the plumpness of the barley and the cholent.
Right. You're really into those food descriptions from Schmutz.
I really, really loved her food descriptions. But her descriptions of everything. Like,
no, you're right. It was very vivid.
To go from that to this where it was like a lot of holes for me. Is
this really just like a vehicle for sex scenes then, really? Because I mean, and again, this seems like we're into the like the heart of the romance genre, like
right, this is like self-published multi-chapter sex scenes.
Yes, lengthy.
I noticed that multi-chapter sex scenes is something that's like people advertise.
Oh wow.
Like there's multi-chapter sex scenes. Like, so like you finish a chapter, don't worry, because when you turn the page, they're still in it.
Right. It's really, they're
in the middle of it.
You're getting sort of in real time, sort of the
like,
whole.
I don't think I understand why like ending a chapter to start a new chapter, but they're still like neither of them
like,
have,
just
like,
keep going.
Like I don't think I get like what's exciting or enticing about that. It's like
turn the page.
Oh, good. They're not done. Good.
10. Oh.
I don't get it, but it's really a thing. Like multi-chapter sex scenes. Like, right? I agree with you. Like, and if that's the case, that like this is just a vehicle for like erotica, then like
Yes.
I think it's great that they're Jewish. Like I think it's great that he's a rabbi. I think it's great that they're talking about like shul and like rabbinical school and kashrut and all those things, but like it felt so a lot of it felt inaccurate. So it's like make it a little more accurate. That's why I want to be her editor. Like do it. Like make a sexy Jewish erotic book.
Right,
With
that's like
multi-chapter
really on the
sex
money
scenes.
with like there's no 4-year-old calling, the Reform Rabbi Tati.
Right. Or if it is, have him explain it and make a joke. Like
Right. Flesh it out. Yeah.
exactly. Like maybe he's like it's a funny hipster thing for him. I don't know. Like but if it is, then explain. Like I go by Tanta Raizel with my 5 nieces and nephews on one side.
Yeah.
Like is it ironic? I don't know. Like I go by Tanta Raizel with them. Like they're yeshivish. Like I love the name my Yiddish name Raizel. Like
Might be
so I'm
ironic
like,
for you, but not for them.
certainly not for them. Like they
Right.
also call their dad Tati. Like they don't like I'm Tanta Raizel to them. So yes, explain it, or to my others, I'm Aunt Rachie. So like I agree. Maybe explain it more, or the same with Devarim. Like it's like there's like Judaism sprinkled on it, but the Judaism didn't always make sense.
Right.
So the sprinkles were confusing.
Right. Also, I'll say, and I'm not going to get into so much of the detail on this, but there is a point in one of the multi-chapter sex scenes that we're discussing where she pauses to ask about the permissibility of some of the activity that's going on.
Yes.
And I don't really understand if was she being serious about that? Was that just supposed to be like a like tantalizing pause? Like
Tantalizing pause.
I don't really understand. And again, like, were I to be a person who gets very engrossed in these multi-chapter sex scenes, which I'm not saying that I am, that would take me out of it because I'd be like, is she being serious? Like, permissible? What does she mean? Like, permissible
Yeah.
in the context of what? And again, maybe it's borrowing from Christianity. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it more.
I don't know. I noticed it. I don't know the answer, but
Okay.
yeah, it's funny. Yeah, the other thing is like he has this voice in his head, Moshe.
Yes,
He's this
yes.
Reb Moshe has a voice in his head.
Right. It's like it's Jiminy Cricket.
Right. In one review I read, by the way, this one reviewer who wrote a review about this book has reviewed almost 500 books on Amazon.
Wow.
I'm like, she should have a podcast. She has reviewed a ton of books on Amazon. She had a
Again,
lot to say about
A lot
Hot
of commitment
Rabbi.
here from a
Truly,
lot of people. Yeah.
Truly. So she said something funny. So she said like this book felt like 2 different books. Her name's Lee. She's reviewed a ton of books. She has a critical review of this book. But one thing that she said was that she had to make a decision that he was not schizophrenic. That like this was just an interior voice.
Oh, I see.
She goes, this is a very interior book. Shoshana and David are very much in their heads, and David has even named the voice in his head. I had to decide Moshe was a quirk and not a sign of schizophrenia. But this interiority threw off the pacing and dialogue. It was compelling to read, and I liked the author's voice enough that I'd try something else from her, but I hope she finds a better editor for future projects.
There you go. You got you and Lee are really
Me and Lee, we're aligned.
If you want to guest shindig here, we invite you on.
Lee would
Sorry.
be fantastic.
Yes.
Lee would be great. Also, by the way, she has like content warnings at the end, she has way more content warnings than the author put. It says social anxiety, past death of parents, heroine's father had a stroke, parentheses, not clear if this is what he ultimately died from, hero is divorced, gendered insults, gender is essentialism, secondary character discusses a mystery chronic illness she had but has since recovered, reference to racism and anti-Semitism toward an off-page character, and reference to death of a baby in his old congregation. Lee
Wow.
is a
Lee,
fastidious reader.
you've done a public service. I mean, really.
Lee is incredible, and if she ever finds this podcast, I would have her on because she reviews the shit out of books and
Join
is really
us, Lee.
thoughtful. She's
Absolutely.
very thoughtful.
Interiority. Wow.
I mean, honestly, as I was reading it, I was like, I hope I'm saying that word correctly. I've never said that word out loud, so I'm really
I
into
think you
Lee's
did,
review.
and I'm glad she said it. Yeah.
There's-
Also, doesn't he? The character in his head says his name in a way that I didn't understand. It's like his name's David, and it keeps writing Davade, Davade. I was like, I don't get it.
I thought maybe it was David, but it wasn't spelled like
right,
David.
but the way it was phonetically, I didn't.
Davode, Davode.
Right.
Davode. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Like what?
Yeah, Davode. Weird. By the way, that review that I just read had 3 paragraphs that I didn't even read. Like, it was a very, very long review from Lee. Yes.
Can I ask,
yes.
how does this book segue into Hot Lumberjack? Because there is a reference where somebody says the rabbi looks like a lumberjack.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know how this segues into Hot Lumberjack. I don't know. I think it might just be that it's from another character from this book, this small town, Campbell town.
I see. Got it.
I haven't looked into it, but maybe, for example, it might be the romance might be of her friend, the preschool teacher, that kind of a thing. I know that books do that a lot. I'll read you the review of Hot Lumberjack before the end of this podcast today. But
wonderful.
But yeah, listen, like, oh, the other thing we didn't talk about is, like, she casually mentions that her past relationship hasn't been she hasn't dated in a while. She wanted to tell him this, but she uses that as an opportunity to, like, casually mention that her last relationship was with a woman. So it's like another thing that I think, like, she's doing really well. It's like, I like that, like, the character's bi, but it's, like, not the focal point of the book. It's like, he's pretty open about that. He makes a dumb dad joke that's like, my last relationship I was in was with a woman too.
Yeah.
But she even is
I
like,
think that's also trying to play off, like, he's a stiff, like, he's a rabbi, he's beholden to the rules, yet he's spiritual. And it's trying to, like, juxtapose them, I guess.
Totally. But even she's, like, very funny. Like, she, like, kind of had a reaction to that joke.
Right, that he's being a little bit of a stuffed shirt about it.
Exactly. But, listen, like, I think that there's a lot of things about the book that I think that it's a good draft. I think there's a lot of things about the book that people could really enjoy. If multi-chapter sex is your thing, this book has it. Another review. People really like this book on Amazon, by the way. Like, really like it.
That's great.
There's one that's like, I loved this book so much. I read it twice. I plan to read it a 3rd time this summer. Great beach read, great day off read, fun and messy protagonist, sexy and desirable rabbi character, very well written, and great steamy scenes.
Wow.
Yeah. Another one is like,
listen, we're not getting these reviews about our podcast, so really,
that's what I'm saying. Like, she's a queen.
What is there to mock? Come on.
That's what I'm saying. Like, again, like, coming off reading a book like Schmutz, where that was just like paid very close attention to detail, was like, there's something, that these are 2 different, very, very different books, but, like, no, we're not getting reviews like that. Like,
right.
What about this, though? A sexy, Hamish romance, a sexy, warm, thoroughly Hamish story. Blakeman's story is funny and emotional, and the romance is hot. I love reading a story about Jewish characters who were funny and familiar without being stereotypical, and her descriptions of synagogue life in the community were spot on. Thank you, Aviva, for creating a romance that centers Jews and Jewish life. Toda Rabah and Tov Ma'od. But the thing is, I don't feel that part of it was spot on. I feel the synagogue life was not spot on. I feel the part about the community, and, like, I know, like,
I think anyone who's ending a review with Toda Rabah and Tov Ma'od might not have, like, the most sophisticated read on synagogue life. Sorry.
Maybe. I don't know. So entirely sexy and emotionally impactful. Hot Rabbi blew me away for being so entirely sexy and so emotionally impactful. A total slump buster, got me out of a bad spell post-election. Rabbi and single dad David is a total dreamboat. He listens. He is really into oral. Woo! A messy heroine is my favorite, and this one is no exception. Also, the discussion of religion and belief is exceptional, along with the complications of grieving someone who you truly loved, but who also really did some lingering damage to your mental health. Highly recommend. Like, people really, really like this book.
It got them.
Got them out of a slump.
Bolster them after world events. Got them down. I mean, really, it's saving the world, basically. Hot Rabbi. Hot rabbis can save the world, I think, is the lesson here.
It is. So, this is a book that I kind of feel like if you need to get out of a post-election slump, post-COVID slump, post-pandemic slump.
Totally.
It sounds it did a lot for a lot of people. It brought some laughs to Malya and I.
I've enjoyed this discussion, and I had fun reading it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was. Again, I think that this could be, I think there could be some tweaks. specifically surrounding some of the maybe, realistic community synagogue life, maybe, some of that. But yes, I have enjoyed this conversation quite a bit, and it's making me want to talk to you a little bit about Hot Lumberjack. So
Please.
let me find some information about Hot Lumberjack, and also I want to talk about what we're reading next.
Great.
Okay, so Hot Lumberjack. Oh, by the way, I was right. It's about Abby. Abby's her friend.
Oh, yeah, the preschool teacher.
Yeah, Abby's the preschool teacher. Okay. Abby thought she had a charmed life. She's got her dream job, family and friends who love her, and she just bought a great old house. Everything would be perfect if not for the logging company that's just set up shop next door. And the guy she can't seem to stop stooping. It's also Jewish. Who just happens to be the chief tree cutter or logger? Lumberjack? Oh, Elon. His name's Elon. Elon took over his father's business 3 years ago, and he's proud of the success he's earned.
Doesn't Elon mean tree?
Does Elon mean tree?
I think it does.
It's a good one, Aviva.
Good touch. Good.
This is good. Elon took over his father's business 3 years ago, and he's proud of the success he's earned. Getting the contract to clear the Howell acreage is just another in a string of achievements. He didn't mean for it to be such a sore subject for the people of the neighborhood. He especially didn't mean to find himself naked with Abby. At least not more than once. Definitely not more than twice. Too bad it seems to keep happening. Worse, they can't say two words to each other without wanting to throw things, but there's no way the attraction will last. Nobody who gets that turned on can stay that way and get anything done, right? It sounds like this is an enemies to lovers, but I think they're Jewish. Elon's Israeli, I think.
Of course. Israeli lumberjack.
An Israeli lumberjack, and they're stooping.
They're stooping.
Aviva's funny.
I like it. Reminds me of, did you see that movie A Walk on the Moon?
No.
It's like in a Jewish bungalow colony, and she's like, and there's also use of the word stooping. It's like the only other entertainment where I've ever heard the use of that word, but I like it. It should be around more.
It should. It really should. Stooping, yeah, it's really good. So
it's a good word.
Abby and Elon are in Hot Lumberjack. Okay. And
well, I'm glad Abby gets her moment in the sun. I mean, she was just the friend in this book, but that's great that she gets fleshed out. That's cool.
Totally. And usually in these books, in chapter 2 of these kinds of books, I happen to know this because I've read sequels, you'll get a revisit of Shoshana and David. Like they'll be at the shul one day.
Oh, right. They're the secondary characters.
They're the side characters,
gotcha.
And so you'll get a little update, which, like, if it's a series that you'd like, it's nice to see the characters that you exactly.
Sure.
So that's Hot Lumberjack. Maybe we'll revisit Aviva Blakeman in Hot Lumberjack in a few months. We'll see.
Listen,
how we're doing.
If we find ourselves at the beach, we've already read this book 3 times. We could turn to Hot Lumberjack.
Exactly. But again, it's like I am impressed with having a day job and having the time to engage in like this level of writing. These aren't short novellas. She's writing really long books, and I think that's cool. And there seems to be that there's a place for it. It's ranked number 787 in Jewish literature, Hot Lumberjack.
Wow.
So it's definitely Jewish. Yeah, out of what? I wonder also. But
are we still doing our out of 8 candle reviews, even though it's no longer
I think we should.
Hanukkah?
We haven't, but yeah, I think we should. Yeah.
Let's bring it back.
Yeah, let's bring it back. So, Hot Rabbi, what do you think?
Long pause. I give it a 4.
I was thinking 3 or 4. I mean, here's the thing. Like I said, bi main character, messy main character, the cats, shul life. Right. I know there are things that could really do it for people.
Right. And multi-chapter sex scenes.
Multi-chapter sex scenes. You heard in that review.
It's not something I seek out, but I appreciate that they exist.
Exactly. Like a single dad. Also, like, I don't know. For me, like,
totally.
But like in that one review, she was into the single dad thing and also into the fact that he likes oral. So there's a lot that this book could do for people. I don't know that it did it for us. I would say 3 or 4.
I think it's good for the reputation of rabbis also in general. I mean, on multiple levels here.
Yes. Good. More hot rabbi stuff. It's good for the Jewish people.
Aviva, thank you.
Aviva, thank you. It's good for Klal Yisrael to get the reputation.
On behalf of the rabbinate.
On behalf of the rabbinate.
At large. We salute you.
Yeah, we salute you. Toda Rabbah.
Mm-hmm.
And Tov Mode.
Mitsuyan, dare I say.
Okay, so that was Hot Rabbi. I think we might revisit Aviva's next book, Hot Lumberjack, in a few months. We'll see. But
cool.
here's what we're reading next to our listeners, for our book clubbers, people who are reading along. We're pivoting again. We're going to be reading a romance, and I think we're going to be answering the question. Like, what makes a romance Jewish? What makes a Jewish romance Jewish? What kind of storyline? How much Jewish stuff do we need in a book for it to be a Jewish romance? We're reading Weather Girl next by Raizel and Malya. You want to hear the description before we wrap up?
Please.
Okay. Ari Abrams has always been fascinated by the weather, and she loves almost everything about her job as a TV meteorologist. Her boss, legendary Seattle weatherwoman Torrance Hale, is too distracted by her tempestuous relationship with her ex-husband, the station's news director, to give Ari the mentorship she wants. Ari, who runs on sunshine and optimism, is at her wit's end. The only person who seems to understand how she feels is sweet but reserved sports reporter Russell Barringer. In the aftermath of a disastrous holiday party, Ari and Russell decide to team up to solve their boss's relationship issues. Between secret gifts and double dates, they start nudging their bosses back together, but their well-meaning meddling backfires when the real chemistry builds between Ari and Russell. Working closely with Russell means allowing him to get to know parts of herself that Ari keeps hidden from everyone. Will he be able to embrace her dark clouds as well as her clear skies?
I see what they did there.
See what they did there with the weather?
Absolutely.
So that's what we're reading next. Both characters are Jewish. And we'll get into it.
Wow, we're tackling the big questions here.
Yes, we are. So it was great talking to you about Hot Rabbi. If you are enjoying the Hanukkah Erotica Book Club, leave us a review.
Please.
We love some reviews.
We're no Aviva Richmond, but we could use a review or two.
Aviva Blakeman.
Oh, shoot.
We're no Aviva Blakeman, but we could use a review or two. We don't have any. Rate us. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. If you don't, listen to another podcast. Don't rate us low. But if you like us, give us a 5-star rating. Write us a review.
Please. Share
the podcast with your friends. It's been a pleasure, and we can't wait to talk Weather Girl with you in 2 weeks.
This has been great. Looking forward.
Hanukkah Erotica Book Club is brought to you by me, Raizel, and Malya, my co-host. Sound is by William Levin. Art is by Gal Dor. We had such a great time, and we will see you next time. Good night.
Good night.